Kyle, does yours is stream now?
Can't explain it. Yep.
Okay. So I've got to actually click the thing on my end. And then Kyle, we need to actually make an intro that has both of our stuff on at some point.
Yeah, I can.
I'm just waiting on this.
That means, Kyle, can you make us an intro that has both of our stuff on it?
His are better. I'm happy to do it, but his are better. Objectively better.
Objectively subjective better.
We are now on air for the record.
Good. Good. I give 0 fucks.
Everybody is acutely aware of exactly how many fucks Kyle gives.
That's true.
I love that meme. The behold, look at the amount of fucks I give, and she's holding nothing.
Yeah.
I like. I think I sent a picture of my hand.
Before the internet existed, I really enjoyed like live in person, where I'd pat my jeans and be like, "Oh shit, I'm all out of fucks to give."
Or the winding middle finger, you know, like that.
Oh yeah,
like a Jack in the Box.
I don't think I said my first curse word until after the internet was a thing.
Wow.
This does sound like the Napoleon Dynamite soundtrack.
I dig this, man.
It's like we're in the 80s.
Lucy says the thumbnail gave her joy. That is thank you to the genius graphic designer Kyle Curtis.
I wish you guys could have seen the one that I had earlier that Jimmy disapproved of.
I gotta tell you, I'm considering turning this to like lower volume and looping it during the show.
Please don't do that. I won't be able to focus. You know, if there's too many things going on, my brain just shuts down. All I'll be doing is dun, 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 dun.
Oh, you know, if we just put it a little bit light on, I think that would be good. Kyle, why don't you introduce what we're doing today?
Hi, I'm Kyle. You're here for actually it's Jimmy's turn. Jimmy, what episode is this? You're over here.
Do you mean what is the name of our show tonight?
Yeah.
It is called Subjectively Objective with the Four of Us.
Oh, okay. Yes, that was brilliant. Okay,
I'm embracing it.
below me is Paul the Gia. Hello, Paul. Hello. And then we have Catty Corner to be his hashtag Shannon.
Ew, it's a little bit of an inside joke here. You know what? I feel like fight. So I think a lot of people are watching the Game of Thrones documentary tonight, perhaps. So to everybody watching, if you tweet out this episode, tell people we're live, we're taking calls, and we're talking about whatever you all want to talk about, you will win an Xbox. Asterisk, you might not actually win an Xbox, but go win that Xbox, and conditions apply, which include that you won't.
There's no Xbox.
There's no Xbox. You will win every Xbox on my desk right now.
Although if people call in, I think we'd each be happy to share an anecdote about the making of Game of Thrones as we experienced it.
Oh, so that is going to be Paul. I'm glad you're here because you'll be the one who defends it. At the end of the show, we're going to get through calls. By the way, we're going to try and keep calls semi-short. We'll have some discussion, but we want to get in as many people as possible. And then at the end of the show, after about an hour of calls, I would say, we'll spend the last bit of it before we do Super Chats. We'll spend the last bit of it talking about this season of Game of Thrones and what we think.
Oh, I have so much shit to say. Spoiler alert, I am mad.
Dracarys.
This may be a 4-hour episode. I just want to make sure everybody knows.
And that'll just be me expressing why I'm mad.
I was going to say a 4-hour episode of little to no development and rushed timelines, just like Game of Thrones.
And we have a Mad Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
Which one of the three of us does that refer to? Because that is not clear.
That would be me.
Okay.
That would be me.
Just checking. Yeah, I think we'll just jump in. I'm excited. What is this? Hides a cinnamon bun. Oh, I see. Okay, sorry. We'll jump into the first call. Unless do you all have anything you wanted to delay for?
No,
I'm just happy with the caliber of guests that we have here.
Oh yeah, this is a way better show than normal.
Way better.
This is we should just
way. No, I'm just kidding.
Why don't we just leave?
You guys
And
should
meet
phone
up.
it in generally. Is that what
Because
happens?
if we do that, it'll turn into like a Skype call between Paul and Shannon. All they'll do is talk about how cute the other one is, and
Yeah,
I
how
love
much
him.
yeah.
Look how cute he is.
So.
he is cute.
See.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably do the same thing. We will start with Natalie. Natalie, what would you like to talk about?
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I just wanted to point out something I noticed is I can only hear you, Jimmy, and I can't have YouTube and the phone up at the same time. So if I'm interrupting, like Shannon or someone else that's talking, I don't know because I can only hear you.
Yeah, I don't actually know why that is, because that shouldn't be the case. Shannon, say something to the guest, just to see if maybe it was her on hold.
Hi, can you hear me?
No, okay, so she can't hear you. So I guess then
No, I'm
that
not hearing
means
anything.
that means tonight that we're going to be relaying the question and then pretty much hanging up on the callers and taking the story from there, because I genuinely have no idea why that would be the case, because everything on my end looks correct and it looks like I'm feeding audio to you, but apparently it's incorrect. So sorry. Anyway,
Okay.
Natalie, what was your question? What did you want to say? And I will relay it to our esteemed guests tonight.
Well, for this, it's actually lucky because it's not really a question. Okay, so to give some background, I am a lesbian atheist in a religious homophobic family, and I figured start this episode on a positive note and say thank you guys all so much for like bringing these issues to light and talking about how it feels to be like separated from what feels like a group. And Jimmy, especially, you've been talking about GRSM. I think that's the acronym. You started using, I forget, issues, and you're talking about like the abortion ban and everything, and just I wanted to say how much it means to me. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry. I'm so sorry.
You're gonna make me cry is what's gonna happen here.
For
Yeah.
making me remember that I'm not crazy and I should be the way I am. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Yay.
You are amazing the absolute way you are. And yeah, I'm really glad you called in. And I'm glad we started on something positive, because I just have the sinking suspicion that somebody's going to try and start shit before the day is over. So thank you so much for starting us off with something
Also,
really, really nice.
I want to help one of you guys win the bet because I heard something about a Twitter war. So I'm mentioning the Twitter war. I don't know what that is, but there you guys go.
Thanks. Who had first caller in the pool?
Nikki, hang out with us. Nikki, hang out with us.
Shannon wins. Shannon wins.
Oh, God.
Thank you
There you
so
go,
much,
Shannon.
Natalie.
So
Shannon.
again, thank you guys. I love you all.
Thank you
We
so
love
much.
you too.
Bye.
That was awesome.
Bye. All right, now somebody ruined that.
The three of you talk about something. I want to see if I can figure out why this isn't working. Why the why the other callers are only hearing me.
Well, let's talk. First of all, happy belated birthday, Paul. You had one a couple of days ago.
I did. That's so I hear. Getting
And,
older chronologically.
Well, you don't look a day over 25, Paul.
You're such a good liar.
I
Or
wouldn't
terrible
want.
liar, depending.
I'm gonna be honest. I would never want to hear that ever again. Now that I've passed 25, I think I'll be happy being stuck at 35 if people want to say that.
Oh,
But
no.
nothing
I'll take
was
it
good.
then.
When I was 25, there was nothing good about me. I couldn't do this. First of all, the beard was patchy and ugly and gross. I'm just saying I would never want to be. Paul, you don't look a day over 35.
Can I tell you what
I'll
I did
take that too.
on my
Yeah.
30th birthday?
Yeah.
I literally, I was so upset that I was leaving my 20s. And this is a true story. I stayed in my room. I closed the drapes and the blinds, and I sat in bed and watched 3 Jennifer Aniston movies while eating 2 pints of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Americone, Stephen Colbert's kind.
Ooh.
If I
That
were
was
in a
my 30th
screenplay, someone would send that back and say, "That's not what real people do."
That's what this real person did.
It's too stereotypical. It's not even
I was really-
believable.
I was really depressed. That's a true story. I'm not even kidding. That's exactly what happened. It was two. I had 2
spent
pints
my
of.
30th?
Yes, please.
On my 30th birthday, my now ex-husband was away. I was at home by myself with an 8-month-old. The power went out because it was a snowstorm, so I was by myself in the trailer that I lived in with an 8-month-old with no power in the middle of winter on my 30th birthday.
Good
Jeez.
Lord.
That's
It was
awful.
so good.
Yes, you just
So-
totally smashed my. I feel so
Suck it.
bad for bitching about mine now. Oh my God.
I was in
And I wasn't
I was in
just-
Sydney,
yeah.
Australia, filming Star Wars Episode 2: Attack of the Clones. So that's where I was.
Yeah,
Oh.
shut up, whatever.
Yeah, shut up, Paul.
I'm a big movie guy, and I do important shit with fancy
So the
people.
prequels were your fault. I'm kidding.
That's true.
All but Jar Jar.
He's
Jar before me.
entirely responsible for Jar Jar. Don't let him fool you. He made that shit happen. He's one
Invented
of
Jar
fixed that at the
Jar.
meeting.
Me don't know what you're talking about.
Let's find out if Abigail can hear everybody here, and we'll find out. Abigail, can you hear anybody besides me, or is it just me you can hear?
No, just you.
All right. Well, go ahead and ask your question. They can hear you. Ask your question, and then we'll answer it. But unfortunately, tonight we're just going to be able to take the calls on air because, fuck, I have no idea why it's doing this. I genuinely actually think the program is fucked up and not me this time. I don't think this is my fault.
Of course
Yep.
not.
Dang, that sucks.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Sorry. Well, I kind of just have to collect my thoughts right now. I had no idea I was actually going to be able to do this. So it's
You can do it.
basically about kind of like the definition of atheist. I know it's like a lack of belief in a god or gods, if I'm
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
And like, but the thing is, I consider myself to be an animist, if you're familiar with that term. But I'm like, I don't know, like I'm kind of just figuring myself out,
Sure.
playing around with labels and stuff. Labels help me, I guess, figure out what I am. I don't believe
Right.
in a god whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
Labels are really useful when they describe as opposed to when they prescribe. Did you say the thing you are is an animist?
I consider myself to be. I mean, I'm questioning.
Okay.
Like
I
I
believe
said,
you believe in
myself
cartoons.
That's an
I
animator.
can hear you.
You're
Oh,
right,
okay.
Kyle. She can't hear you. So animism is the religious belief that objects, places, and creatures all possess a distinct spiritual essence. Potentially, animism perceives all things, animals, plants, rocks, rivers, weather systems, human handiwork, and perhaps even words as animated and alive. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to drop you yet. I will send you back to the queue, and that way if you're watching on the other thing, maybe you can hear some of the responses, and then we'll pull you back in and see if it answered your question. Does that work for you?
yeah, brilliant.
Cool. So first thing when I heard definition of atheist, because I thought we were about to have a fight, but there are a number of people who are very like stuck on this definition of atheism that comes from philosophy and like philosophy classes. Let's not
There's only
even
one.
define it.
There's only one that's stuck on that.
Yeah, but we're not going to call any names. There's more than just that, and now it's actually a popular theistic point to basically use that one person's words and come at atheists and say, you don't even know what atheist means. So I think everybody here, however, is more interested in the colloquial definitions, which are the definitions you find in the dictionary and the definitions like as a group and as people and stuff we have normalized into the language and added specific qualifiers too. Is that correct? Is that what everyone uses?
Well, I'm always most interested in the definition that I always ask the person what they mean by it. If it's
Yeah.
one conversation, then I don't even assume anything. I just, ask immediately. I know that's not helpful, but it's kind of gotten to that point where I need to do it. But absolutely, when I use it colloquial.
Yeah.
I did an entire video on it, I believe it's called Always Check the Label. I did it early on in my channel. And my position is that labels are as useful as they are for descriptive purposes because they help you understand a person's perspective. So the best thing to do is ultimately to ask the person what label they ascribe to and why they ascribe to that label and meet them where they're at. Because having debates about whether or not the label they ascribe to themselves is a valid label, it just defeats the purpose of the conversation, because the conversation isn't about the label they're having. It's about it's about what the label that they've adopted for themselves means. That's where the crux of the conversation is. So I understand and recognize the validity and value of the philosophical labels when you're having those types of conversations, but when you're having individual conversations with somebody regarding what they believe, getting into semantics over whether or not the label that they've chosen to tell you they ascribe to themselves is a valid label for them derails that conversation. And I think that defeats the purpose of engagement in most, if not all, circumstances.
Right. So kind of where I've been with the whole thing is that when the whole idea of something being colloquial basically means that you can assume this word most often. So I think it's kind of up to people who need the clarification to make the clarification, as is the case with lots of words that we do every day where, hey, by the way, I use that to mean such and such else. But again, I mean, I'll accommodate whatever. But so at the end of the day, I think we're all saying that the use of atheist for ours and most people's purposes that aren't in a philosophy class is if you don't hold a belief in God, or any kind of God, not that you actively say they don't exist, but you don't hold a belief that they do exist, you are not an atheist. Is that, we good with that all the way around? Sorry, you are an atheist,
If somebody tells me that they're an atheist, I'm just going to default assume that they don't believe in a God. I'm not going to make I'm not going to extend any further assumptions until we've engaged in some sort of dialogue to find out, like, the more nuance, there's always more nuance to a position, but that gives me a pretty solid starting point to the conversation. Like if somebody says they're an atheist, I'm going to assume that they don't believe God exists. I'm not going to assume that it's a positive claim that a God does not exist. I'm going to assume that they don't believe God exists, and that's why they've ascribed that label to themselves. And us engaging in a dialogue is going to help me further expand my knowledge on their position. And the label at that point in time is no longer consequential because because the conversation has become more important than the initial label. That just gives me a valid starting point. That's really an easy reference point that I don't think anybody would argue with.
I agree, and what I don't like is the where you start taking that word and chopping it down into strong atheist, weak atheist. To me, there's still an atheist. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to know that specific of a definition that somebody has. All I need to know is if they're an atheist or not, in my opinion. And so that's why I agree 100% with Shannon. If they say they're an atheist, that just means they don't believe in God.
So
I've started doing something. I'm wondering if I can get your opinion on it. Actually, you three is I've started using non-theist scripts when I refer to this.
You cut out a little. Non-theist, is that what you said?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, in my scripts and things, and tweets, I've started non-theist when I'm not going to be able to go back and forth with people. Just as a clarifying statement, is that watering down our mission? Is that like? Am I doing something wrong by using non-theist? Just to be clear.
No, I don't think so. No.
I don't think you're doing something wrong. It wouldn't make any sense for me to do that because my name's Mr. Atheist. So I'm not going to switch to
non-theist.
Yeah, exactly.
And not to describe myself.
I think
it's always atheist.
I think that's a safe way for you to go, though, Paul. And one of the reasons is that you engage in some philosophical arguments. Like your channel is expanding to the point that like you're engaging in the ontological argument, and you're looking at like more moral arguments and delving more into the philosophical perspective. So people that are more philosophically minded may be gravitating towards your content, and you don't want that. Allows you to close yourself off to people being pedantic about your position because of that. So it allows you to kind of
Well,
protect
that's exactly,
yourself.
yeah. We haven't talked about this, but yeah, that's, I always describe myself as an atheist, though. I'm not going to water it down for myself, but yeah.
Yeah, everybody in the chat agrees with you, Paul, about non-theist.
Okay, cool.
By the way,
I think there's also something to say about like just in a sentence it makes it clear, because I've definitely had statements where I've said the phrase atheist and I meant a theistic person, like an actual theist. Yeah, and that's definitely been confusing, I think. So
why is it not antheist?
Antheist?
Antheist, because theist starts with T. And
I'm thinking atheist. My bad. Atheist. My bad. My
it's an atheist. That's okay. We've all been there.
Oh man. God, that was so stupid of me. Normally I can check it off, and but I can't check that off. That was really dumb of me.
Kyle, do you smell pennies right now?
A little bit.
I just want to make sure you're okay. Okay.
Can we get to the what the caller said that she was though with the
an animist.
Yeah. I don't think she was looking for us to pick that apart or anything. I think she was just saying that she is an animist but doesn't know if that makes her an atheist. She did say, I don't believe in God at all, which I think then, that makes you an atheist. Technically, it's a hard sell and a lot of people aren't going to understand, but technically you could still believe in like this supernatural force that you believe animates everything. You could still believe that.
Deist, though. That would push you more into a deist camp, I think.
Do you think so?
Yes.
Potentially, yeah. If you believe that there's an overreaching force, even if you define that for like the deistic camp confuses me slightly, because essentially they define God into existence by God being the forces of the universe, kind of, but don't give that God any specific attributes. And so I think that she would be on the precipice of the deist/agnostic atheist camp there, but I would have to know more about the position. But I don't think you could put her hard, like fully plant her flag in an atheist camp. I think that there's potential. Maybe I'm wrong. Kyle seems to agree with me. What do you think, Paul?
I think that's. I just think that's true. I thought you said Kyle, Shannon. I'm sorry. I thought you said Kyle.
No, I said Paul.
Paul
frozen.
Oh no! Did we lose Paul? I mean, he looks great. Where he froze, absolutely perfect.
Super intense.
It never happens to me like that. I always have like my eyes rolled back in my head, or.
Hopefully that answered her question.
Yeah, I'll pull her back in and I'll see if that is the case, and then we'll. So, Abigail, I don't know how much you could hear perfectly. I was fudging with settings back here too, trying to make everything work, and it just isn't. There's literally like no reason that I can perceive why you would hear me and not anybody else. Because in fact, when you look at my soundboard down here, I'm the only one who's not on every input. Everyone else is on every input. But I have to have myself off to not hear myself if people care about the technical side. Anyway, I don't know if you were catching that on the YouTube end. I hope some kind of clarity came out of all of that. And I think we're kind of stuck in this position of you're either an atheist if you don't believe there's any God, or Shannon was saying you might be deistic because that kind of almost necessitates God, like a supernatural force is a God. Is that right, Shannon?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
Paul, don't move if you agree.
Abigail, you there?
Yeah, sorry, I was just listening to you. Yeah, I was
no worries.
Watching the stream, which actually lags quite a bit compared to the phone, so I'll have some catching up to do after I hang up. But yeah, that sounds about right. Like I said, I'm fairly agnostic. I'm figuring myself out. So yeah, that definitely helps.
Very cool.
One more thing I wanted to say: I have a friend who's an ex-Mormon. And you've really helped her out a lot. She's been watching your videos, and we've talked like, oh, have you seen the new Mr. Atheist video? Oh, what did you think of it? And yeah, everything that you've done has been really helping her out, so I'm sure she would say thank you. And yeah, keep doing what you do.
Thank you so much, Abigail. I really, really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We will talk more one day, I'm sure. Have a good one.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, see ya.
I almost said talk soon, and I realized that halfway through I was like, well, that's not guaranteed, so I didn't want to set any bad expectations. Part of me wants to try. So here's the thing. This could make everything way worse, but I mostly suspect it would fix it. Part of me thinks that because you guys came in after I had set your output on vMix here, that is what is causing the problem here. So what I want to actually do is restart vMix, which will take us briefly off air. The problem is, will that kill it for you completely, Kyle, or will it let it resume since yours is a stream now? Will it automatically end yours?
It should pick it right back up because anytime that we've dropped in the past, but if not, we can just
pop a new one on. Okay, so you're all about to see the magic of everything here. Let me make sure I have this saved so that it's going to reopen the correct one, and then everybody who is currently Shannon, Paul, and Kyle, you'll all need to hit refresh. I'm pretty sure Paul's back, but just doesn't move. He's so there he is. He's so still. Let me here's actually something else I can do to try and improve everything. I'm going to come down to the actual call manager and and set some of these bandwidths a little lower too, to make sure that at least the bandwidth you're all receiving, so that we can try and smooth out these calls a little bit. Okay, so we will be right back. Don't go anywhere. And, that whole thing about, what do I say? I'm Mr. Atheist. We're not going to say any taglines. We're going to try.
Fuck you, like and subscribe.
Fuck you all, like and subscribe. Yeah, we will be right back, hopefully. Let's hope this doesn't destroy everything.
Do I refresh?
Pray.
Now?
Yeah, you'll refresh as soon as you see it cut off.
Okay. I'm ready.
The anticipation is killing me.
Shit. It says
Jimmy.
stop
God,
recording,
come on,
external
come on.
output,
God,
streaming
cut
before
that
opening.
A nightmare.
Cut that fucking stream.
I think I have to I think I have to force close it. I think I have to control alt delete this
force
thing
close
out.
it.
Oh baby.
Force close it.
All right.
Force it. Close.
Force close that shit.
I hope everybody's happy with the direction this is taken.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Stream button. Okay, theoretically, I hope we're back on air. Let me look at my live control room. Yes, I think we are. Maybe. I don't know. Let me check with Nikki and see if she can hear all of us. Okay.
I'm offline. You might have to.
You're offline.
Kyle.
I think so.
You're not offline.
Simul streaming.
Let's see if that fixed anything. Nope, still just me. You know what? Fuck it, I quit. Good night. No, I'm kidding. The other option is refreshing the actual Skype call here. So it's up to you all. Do you all want to just keep taking questions and leave them off air for the actual discussion?
Jimmy, I am actually offline, for real.
Oh, do we need a new code for you?
Should still be the same.
Let me look why that is then. It says I'm streaming to yours.
Nope.
Let me look. Let me investigate.
To all of you who actually stick around while we troubleshoot this, you're my real hero. You are my actual real for realsies hero. Do you know what I'm going to do?
After live. Oh no, it's offline. It's totes offline.
Do you want to just start a new stream now, or do you want me to try and disconnect just from your stream and restart it?
Yeah, disconnect from it and restart it. See if that works.
Okay.
Maybe it'll pick up on the same one. Okay, we have resumed.
You said that right. You said that right after I turned off, so I'm pretty sure we're about to hiccup again. So it's just gonna have to pick it up again.
Yep. Stream complete.
God.
Let's see if it pops back up. I just set it back to streaming again. Yeah. Let's. This has been fun. Thank you to everybody who's holding
I can't wait for the first caller.
And be patient. Yeah, the next. Well, Kyle, let me know as soon as we are live on yours, and that's what we're gonna go. How we're gonna go from there, I think. Right.
Yep. I will do that.
Yeah, this is fun. So, what's y'all's horoscope say this week?
I have no idea.
Technical difficulties.
Look out for technology this week.
Okay, we're live again.
Okay, good. All right, we are going to take the next call. And by the way, this is the actual first call referring to what we were taking bets on how long it would take to get to it. And this is call number 3, which I think was mine, right? Was I 2 or 3?
I think Paul might have had
You said 3.
Paul
I
had
said
everything
no, I
over
said
3.
4. Yeah.
Paul,
Oh.
I
Paul
took the Price is
basically-
Right version. It was Nets.
exactly. Yeah. You're the closest without going over. All right. Arden, so once again, just to remind you here, Arden, you'll be able to basically pose your question, and then we're gonna let go of the line and have the discussion, because apparently I cannot get this whole technology thing to work at all.
Right. Yeah, no problem.
Cool.
So it actually kind of works because I have more of a like an observation and a statement that I kind of just want to like throw out to you guys and see what you think, because
Okay.
I love all of you guys. I really respect your opinions, and I just kind of want to like pick your brains about it.
Yep.
So this is obviously piggybacking off of the whole ACA rationality rules thing, but I'm a trans woman myself, and I feel as though trans rights activism is really heading in this like problematic direction where it almost feels like a religion itself. Like they're posing these kind of concepts and like ways of thinking that you almost have to abide by, or you're automatically transphobic. And like, if you don't fight the people who are saying those things, you're also transphobic. And it's like just sad to me because there are these really smart, wonderful people who are getting shut down for
Sure.
observations, you know?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely switch to listening on YouTube, because I think this conversation will be the only part anyone gives a care about this entire episode tonight anyway. But we will happily address this. Thank you so much, though, Arden.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
If you don't mind, and I probably do this a lot and don't usually ask for permission, but I want to start on this one because I think
Go ahead.
I think there's been a lot of people waiting to hear me talk more directly about it, and so I'm going to talk more directly about it. First thing, in reference to what you were talking about, Arden, please don't ever don't do the conflation that some of the individuals that you're bothered by are doing themselves, and don't assume that specific individuals who are not acting good are the trans community or represent all of trans activism. And I think all of us have had experiences with a large amount of the trans community of receiving support from a large amount of the trans community saying, hey, just so you know, they might say they're speaking for all of us, but they don't. So I don't want to at all remotely off-put a single person from trans activism, because right now, as human rights struggles go, it is one of the most significant ones in the United States, may be the most significant one as far as as far as how many people are actually trans. That is where people would argue, I think, whether or not it's the most significant one versus other things. But as far as the actual fallout you receive, the amount of public scrutiny and the amount of just honestly malice that you get on a daily basis as a trans person in this country that is now becoming, and I'm speaking to the United States, we have 2 Canadians here too, but right now, this week, we have policies coming out of the Trump administration trying to remove protections for people who are homeless, trying to make it so that a doctor can turn down treating a trans person if they seek out medical, if they have a medical issue or emergency. Trans activism is way more important than ever. And I don't want a single person to think that just because there are conflicts between myself or any other person and people who are basically trying to represent that they speak for that entire community and are doing so in bad faith and are doing so where they are setting lines of restrictions and saying, basically, if you don't come up with what we would have scripted for you and say it the way and the time and on the platforms we think you should have, then you are not an ally, and perhaps you are even a transphobe. That kind of stuff isn't helpful. But to any individual who is seeing this, and Arden obviously is actually in the trans community and feels like they're being off, you feel like that maybe you don't want to associate with trans activists. They're not. Just find other trans activists, because there are many that are tremendous. And by the way, even the activists I'm speaking about now, there are times I have not only defended but also signal boosted several of them. And so it's this specific issue that's become an us versus them, in group, out group. Let's make this about people who are allies but not allies enough in our perception. That is an unfortunate thing that's going on. Just don't fall for it, because it's pretty bogus.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to say that a lot of things were made because a lot of these terms, like labels, were thrown around because a lot of us were silent on the issue, and the anger stemmed from a place of not reacting in a certain way. And I just want to speak to the reaction aspect of it. A lot of that is because Rationality Rules admitted that he got some things wrong. He apologized. He wanted to make right on that. And the people that were not speaking out on that per se, or jumping at the opportunity to capitalize on that, are being labeled in, like Arden said, in this back and forth on Twitter a lot, things that they are not. They're being mischaracterized, and it ultimately harms. It does harm, I think, to the trans community, because it erodes the emphasis of what a transphobic person really is. So that's a specific definition, and if you water that down, then when a real transphobe comes around, you're not gonna. It's gonna be like, with that list. I mean, the people on that list that came out are not transphobic, and I won't defend. I'm getting out of the back and forth on Twitter. I'm not, like today I put out that I'm no longer going to defend myself to people that don't know me. Everybody in this call, no one in this call is transphobic. We've all fought for people in the trans community, and we're going to continue to fight for people in the trans community. And things like this aren't going to deter me. I can't speak for these three, but I think that I can in this instance. About it's not going to stop us from continuing to fight for trans rights, because we fully believe in them. And so don't let it get you down. There's always going to be bad actors in everything, and this is just another example of that.
Yeah. At the end of the day, what's been really, really fun is both Kyle and I have gotten basically cishet insults, and neither of us suck dick for people to forget we're not het. Like, that's right. That's been enjoyed, and it literally just goes to show that level of grouping. And then I got attacked for being the type of problematic gay or bisexual man who's okay with trans men but not trans women, which was just something a person was coming up with, a baseless accusation. But also pansexual. Nice job with your pansexual erasure there, but it's clearly it had become a few individuals who think they have the information right, and then a bunch of people who attack on their behalf. Yeah. And it's been disgusting. Right.
I got called homophobic.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. And if the concern is, I want to speak to the concern. If the concern is that it's going to deter people who are under attack for, not advocating in the approved of fashion, and thus are being attacked and labeled as the opposite of what they are. I can't speak for everybody else, but I can speak for myself, and it's certainly not going to stop me. My response to things like that are to show people through my actions and how I conduct myself that those people are wrong about me, and to continue to follow along my principles regardless of what somebody's assumptions are about me based on hearsay and misinformation and perpetuation of false information. And there seems to be a bit of a culture of attack. And that culture of attack comes from a place of wanting to protect and preserve. It doesn't, I don't think, necessarily come from a nefarious place, but it can take a nefarious form. And it starts to instantiate itself in almost a form of cannibalism.
Yeah.
Where if you don't choose the same path as me to the end goal, then you're a part of the problem. And the best way to combat that is to maintain open dialogue and to try my darndest to not attack back.
Right.
And to just keep a level head and understand where it's coming from, to counter attacks against me with attempts for understanding and an attempt to get to the source of where it comes from, so that I can demonstrate to even the people that are on the offensive against somebody like me that somebody who in this situation values discourse and saw the effect that discourse could have and wanted to encourage that to go to its hopefully best and most positive conclusion, to just demonstrate who I am, as opposed to allowing other people to tell the world who I am and just, sit back and take it, to attempt to elevate above the rhetoric as opposed to stooping down to it, because there are more important issues, and these side arguments just become petty and trivial and about personalities and egos, and not about the issues that we should all be fighting shoulder to shoulder against. And that is what detracts when it becomes a grenade fight between people about who's the better ally and who deserves to be an ally and who can wear the ally badge, and who gets to determine whether that ally badge gets to be worn by you or anybody else. People aren't concerned with actually being activists and advocates and allies. They're more concerned with the public perception of themselves. And I think that's the real takeaway. It's like it's a personality argument. Like there's a personality card. There's a bunch of people whose personalities are under attack, who rightfully want to defend themselves against those attacks. And then it perpetuates and it becomes petty and it takes away from everything. And all of the trivial details are the ones that are being navigated in the public discourse, and the real issues get lost.
Mm-hmm.
It's, So go ahead, Paul.
Well, I don't want to make this, too much longer, but I mean, if you watch my channel, you know that mainly I deal a lot with Ken Ham, and that their organization is particularly they attack transgender people every episode. That's one of their things. So I'm going to have a lot of opportunities going forward to continue this. And, is this going to discourage me or should it discourage anyone? What I've learned out of all this, which I think the best way to learn this lesson, just the
Paul, we're losing you.
Of how been relent the trans community. Oh shoot.
We are losing Paul.
Paul, come back to us.
Paul, I think we've totally frozen out Paul. Paul, you might want to hit the refresh button. I don't know if you can hear me right now, but maybe try another browser refresh there. The important thing here is that so the thing I wanted to add after some of the stuff Shannon brought up there is these people who have not been coming in good faith to these conversations, when they are themselves trans people, I am still trying to maintain how angry I get, or contain how angry I get at the attacks I get from them, because these are people who do have to deal with transphobia. Matt Dillahunty talked a little bit about it on the Atheist Experience, that when you are under that constant attack all the time, you become something like a raw nerve. And so I get that, and I get, and I'm trying not to hold excessive grudges toward these individuals, and even be open to bridge building in the future. That said, the funny thing is, if you go and you look at my Twitter, everything prior to a week ago is so silly. It's just ridiculous tweets I make, ridiculous polls, and I've tried to not stop doing that. Like yesterday, I took a poll to ask whether or not the third light on a traffic light is an orange light or a yellow light.
Which I want to get into that too later on.
We'll do that. Let's do that later. Yeah. But I genuinely don't enjoy Twitter wars, and I was basically called a transphobe for not joining one.
Right.
So that I've never wanted Twitter to use Twitter that way. And then I ended up in a different Twitter war after these Twitter wars came, when somebody, I'm not going to get into specifics of it, but somebody, I think, taking advantage of the situation and the chaos, who I have called a transphobe in the past, wanted me to justify it, and so I did. And then I ended up in a war that things got a little too heated and angry, but that's what went down.
I'm glad you said that, because the same thing, and I noticed that today. I was looking back at posts from a week ago before all of this started, and that's why I posted another daily grinder today. I post screenshots of messages that I get on Grindr, and that stopped a week ago. And from a week ago, and those were funny, it was fun, lighthearted stuff, and then everything from a week ago on is just all of this vitriolic back and forth. A lot of it on my part too. I mean, I got in there and was brawling just like everyone else. I said things that
to get, like, people say crappy shit about you. You want to be like, hey.
Yeah. It brought up it brought up the ugly in all of us. Anyway, Paul, do you want to try and say what you were going to say?
Real quick, except for Shannon. Shannon seriously always, none of us deserve Shannon, for the record. She always handles it so much better. And I get it. I got into it, and I started honestly being kind of a douche because I got pissed off, and I've already expressed this to everybody in private. I'm not any good at those things, because when I get angry, I get scatterbrained. It's just how my brain works. And Shannon comes in and is just like, let me take this over, Jimmy, because you had a good point. You just suck at making it. And then she didn't say that. That's what happened. And it's right. That's correct.
After Paul says what he needs to say, I want to ask you a question that was just asked in the live chat that I think is very relevant and one we need to answer.
Okay.
Paul?
I'll go to the short version in case I break up again. But I mean, essentially, what this has done for me is just reinvigorate me to use the platform that I have to advocate in the best way that I can in the topics that I am qualified to talk about. And I'm going to let the people who watch my channel tell me whether I'm doing a good job, and not people on Twitter who don't watch what I'm doing, because that's what, unfortunately, where it was going. And so I'm going to trust that I can own my own actions, do those in the best way I can.
You literally stop right as the cutoffs were starting to happen, which is perfect. I want to say before Kyle, you say your question. Right now, undoubtedly, probably on replay, one of you that we are implying has upset us, essentially, is watching, and you are likely... I doubt that you find the answers adequate. And I really just want to ask a favor of you, and that is, could you stop a second, go back, start it over, don't make this about what you think is our deal, try and watch again, and just listen to what you think we are perceiving is happening, even if you think that his perception is wrong. And once you can at least come to us with you understand, or at least to me, where you understand where I am coming from, then we can have a full fucking productive conversation, and I'm not going to get scatterbrained because I'm not going to get angry. So that is my request to whichever of you are watching this right now and thinking maybe I'm going to make an attack video, for example.
Well, you might get angry. This question, I can't. Okay.
Well, I'm about to hold my beer.
Yeah.
This person in my live chat says, "Why do you people think you have the right to talk about our issues?"
So first of all, the way are they a trans person talking about trans issues? Okay.
I'm assuming so. Yes.
Yeah. I've always broadcasted allyship, and I have talked about it in that way. And so when I did an actual video that was talking about really in general GRSM labels, I also included a trans person in that. Regarding the rationality rules video, I have always said from now, not necessarily as publicly as maybe I kind of wish I had now, but I have been working in the background. I have been doing things. It's not that I've been doing nothing, but my actual position on women, trans women in sports is trans women are women. So of course they go into women's sports, and that's been it. Period. Regarding why we would have the right to talk about it, I don't really understand the question.
It's a dumb question.
This whole idea of I'm part of many groups that people that aren't in those groups talk about. So I don't know why that would be. So, sorry, go ahead, Shannon.
I think it's because none of us on this panel are trans.
Yeah.
And a lot of the conversations surrounding this specific issue, the only voice that's prominent is a voice that's, attacked us. So and said that they would never go on this platform.
Yeah.
So we can't have a dialogue with that specific voice because those voices won't come here. But there aren't other voices here either.
Yeah.
And it keeps coming up. It comes up because we have call-in shows, right? So we don't have control over what the topic's going to be, and it almost invariably is. So my proposal would be, and actually Kyle has had this proposal and mentioned it to me, I believe it was earlier today, if it wasn't yesterday, that
Today?
It was today, that we should have trans voices on so that those trans voices can have a seat at the table to have a discussion. So it's not just about how we're reacting to being attacked because of how we acted in this scenario. It's also about what that seems like as fans, as trans people who are affected by the issues, as watchers, as critics, when you're actually the one who has everything at stake. So I can understand from a trans person's perspective how it would continue to be frustrating to see all of us bringing it up and none of us are trans.
Yeah.
That has to make some sense.
If Ken Ham is saying terrible things about trying to eliminate trans rights, I'm going to say I don't agree with that. And Shannon and I have both done videos on Canadian Bill C-16 as Canadians. And I have lawyer friends who, come on. I mean, there's certain aspects of these where I think we can advocate for some human rights just in the course of what we do day to day.
Certainly. Right. I don't think anybody's discouraging that. I think that when the frustration comes up, it's the frustration surrounding this specific issue, because this specific issue is at the forefront all the time. And it's the same two subsets of groups of people that are always talking about it. Mm-hmm. And one of those groups of people has very prominent trans representation, and the other does not. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're the other in that scenario. And that's something that should be addressed.
To be fair, though, we didn't bring it up tonight.
No, I agree. And that's why I said, it's a call-in show. You don't have any control over the topics. However, at this point, it's apparent to all of us that it's always going to be a prominent topic. Yeah. And we can't speak for those people. We should invite those people here. That's
By
just
the
my
way, I want to also throw in too. One, as people have pointed out, we didn't bring it up, and it was asked of us for cis people of a trans person. The caller was trans. But second, you're also the things I talk about anyway, and I think this is true across the board. I don't I don't pretend to be an authority and tell trans people the way they should act or try and I don't consider myself a leader of trans people. I talk about trans allyship. The category of trans allyship is a cis category. That's just by nature it is. Trans allies are cis people who support trans people. So trans allyship, if you're going to, even if you're going to try and do this grouping thing that you can only talk about your issues, well, I'm a trans ally and I'm going to talk about trans allyship.
Mm-hmm.
It's fair also.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a silencing thing, but I mean, I always try to look at it from understanding the source of somebody's derision. There's always a source of derision. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists for a reason, and it tends to come from a perspective of either feeling less represented or misrepresented in scenarios that you have stakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at this point in time, we can all acknowledge that it's something that's going to keep coming up. I feel like if history serves,
we're going to be talking about it. That's for sure.
Yeah. But Kyle did have the idea today, and I thought it was a fantastic idea.
Let's go with, so I'm looking at the screens for the rest. We've got other interesting topics related to atheism and related to activism and things of that nature. But let's just go to a completely different topic to defuse here for a second, because I think it's definitely an emotional topic for me. And then we'll get back into the shit. Let's see here. Kirsten, rather. Yeah, Kirsten. What is your question for us? Yeah. So, is it Kirsten?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I hear all different versions of my name now.
No worries. Well, it was my fault, so I'm giving myself an out.
My question, it's a bit off topic from what you guys were talking about earlier, but I was wondering if you guys have played Dungeons and Dragons before, and if so, what kind of characters are your favorite / what would you play? Awesome.
We will take that.
Out.
Just like everything else, we're going to drop the call because you won't be able to hear any of them, but we will answer that here. Now, Shannon, I think, is about to attack me because I promised Shannon a D&D group game like a year ago that has yet to come to fruition, and it will eventually happen, but I, just like everyone else here and everyone watching, did not expect my channel to take off, and then it did, and that's made me very busy. And I am much more surprised than all of you. The appeal doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I love D&D, and I've played a few different campaigns. I generally enjoy playing some kind of ranger, and usually but other times we'll play. I really like playing as a dark elf too, so they're usually good at being real sneaky and doing acrobatics and things of that nature. So those are the kinds of things I like. Paul, I guess, is the only other person who might have ever played before that I know of.
Well, I played with Shannon a few times.
Oh,
Yeah.
Apparently, never mind. I take back what I said. Shannon, I suggested D&D, and apparently Shannon started an underground group without me. Cool.
I wasn't
I
invited.
don't have forever to wait for you to get your shit together, Jimmy.
I know you.
I never got an invite at all.
To his friend's D&D part, to his friend that you've never met, little online D&D party. I'm sorry.
I don't know a thing about Dungeons and Dragons. Not one thing.
Neither do I. I still don't get it.
Like Jimmy, I like to play Rangers, and my real jam was the old West End Games D6 version of the Star Wars role playing game. Was actually what I played a lot more than. So I like to be a slicer in those cases. That was my favorite. But
I don't know what's happening.
is that enough nerd dust for one stream?
Jimmy, let me ask you, what character would I be?
Shannon would be a wood elf, and then the good news for you, Kyle, is there are gnomes. They're called halflings, though.
Halfling.
Kyle, I just watched his soul die.
You broke Kyle.
You broke
We're
him.
sorry,
That was
Kyle.
it. That was finally it.
Whistle.
Finally
Always a
did
good
it.
time. Oh, but puppy, that makes me feel better.
Bella.
Hey,
That's Bella.
puppy.
All right. I think that answered everybody. I think Shannon would be Shannon comes off as a wood elf to me.
I think that's actually what she played.
Was I an elf?
Yeah.
I was a
think
magic
you were.
something. I could do magic.
You were, yeah. You had all the magic.
I had
There's also-
magic.
Now, Kyle, I'll tell you, there's also dwarves, and they're fucking badass. So are halflings.
Don't try to smooth it over now, Jimmy. The damage has been done.
But I wasn't
No.
allowed to do the stuff that I wanted. I was like, I'm just gonna leave this room. They're like, you can't leave the room, and I was like, but I want to leave the room.
We haven't
I'm like, I'm
created.
gonna use magic and leave the room then because I'm magic, and if I'm magic, then I can leave the room because I'm magically leaving the room. And they're
Shannon-
like, you can't do that. And I was like, well, then my magic is useless, and this is stupid.
Can you do that? Can
You are
really
a-
do that, Shannon?
You are a DM's nightmare because
Yeah, you pegged it.
they have not created outside. That's the point. You have to stay in because there is no outside. You're
But I
talking
didn't
about
like
a void.
It there. The people
Yeah.
there were dead. I wanted to leave and go see what was going on outside, and I wasn't allowed to. And I was stupid. And I didn't.
All right, we got
I
a few
couldn't
more
just roll
calls.
around.
Let's try and get these three in here because I want to get to this talk of Game of Thrones. But Matt, what did you want to ask?
Hello, Matt.
I originally called to ask because a friend of mine said that I'm thinking about the thing you just said, that all atheists secretly believe in God, and when I tried saying no, that wasn't the case, he's like, well,
My friend, you mean
he'd
you?
say that. You just don't want me to know.
So is it? Are you wanting to know how we would respond to people saying we secretly believe in God? Okay, cool.
You're an idiot.
We will take that. Switch over to YouTube now. As with everything else, go ahead.
Oh, and halflings and dwarves are separate races in D&D. Just saying.
Yeah, I know. I said dwarves also exist. I said dwarves are badass. So are halflings. Well, yeah.
Oh, I
Go.
think. Okay, I misheard then. I misheard.
Can
Never
I?
mind.
Okay.
I
Can
feel
I start
attacked.
on this? Let me start on this one.
Absolutely.
Because mine's very short. I would respond to your friend, "You're an idiot." Just because somebody can say that all atheists secretly believe in God, it's complete bullshit. It's along the line of the question, why do you hate God? We don't hate God because we don't believe in God. These are just these are theists that refuse to get a grasp on reality, and unfortunately, your friend is just not in reality. He's clueless, completely clueless.
I
Paul
would
did the
not.
best video on this. Paul did a Romans 1:20 video that is fucking on point.
Go watch that
on
video after this
point.
video. Yeah.
Send your
That's right.
friend Paul's video. Paul, take it. You have the best counter argument.
Well, the trouble is, of course, if you are a Christian, I don't know about other religions, but if you're a Christian, you actually have to believe this because Romans 1:20 says that everyone knows in their heart that God exists and that we're just suppressing this truth with unrighteousness. So if you're going to accept that book at 100% face value, I get why they're going to say that, and anything we say just contradicts with what their perfect deity says. So I understand why they will say that. Just my counter to that is that a Christian should keep that to themselves if they want to convert us, because even if we are lying to ourselves, our only things that we can know is real. Everything else in life is up for debate, but our own thoughts are what we know. So even if I'm suppressing the truth, if I know that I don't believe in God, but you continue to insist that I do, all you're doing is entrenching me further that everything you're going to say is ridiculous. So what I say to your friend is, go ahead and think that. Go ahead and believe that. Go ahead and attribute that to me for my motives if you want. But keep it to yourself or you're doing harm to your cause.
That's good. I'm definitely going to steal a ton of that. Prior to Paul just completely improving on what I usually would have said in the past, I wouldn't have called your friend an idiot, but I'm nicer than Kyle is. That's just completely true. But also, I used to be that person. I used to think that was true of atheists. I also used to think atheists did definitely believe in Satan and that they worship Satan. So I've been that person in the past. I don't think I've ever been an idiot. I think I have said things that may be idiotic, but I don't think I've ever. And so I always come to everyone with when I meet a person who's a real piece of shit, I usually think you're a real piece of shit, but I was a bigger piece of shit. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that your future is going to be a future you that's a much better person. And so usually when faced with that, I then switch to being passive aggressive and going on guilt trips. And so the guilt trip I usually took people on is basically the argument of anytime people say something they believe in or generally don't believe in, we give the person that benefit of the doubt. So I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you. You say you are, in fact, a theist or a non-theist, which is the perfect example of how that sentence needs non-theist over atheist, but that you're telling me actually no, that was the wrong time to use it, that you are in fact you believe in God, and I am going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And also the same thing if you tell me you believe in aliens, if you tell me you believe like as in aliens that interfered or built the pyramids, if you tell me you believe the earth is flat, I'm going to have some thoughts about you, but I will at the very least give you the benefit of the doubt, because that is the right way to interact with another person, and that's how we live. We live in a fucking society. And so basically I then ask them, on what grounds will you deny me the same commodity? On what grounds are you comfortable denying me the benefit of the doubt that I believe or don't believe in what I say I believe and don't believe in, even though you are enjoying that I am extending to you that benefit? And it's usually pretty good at making them feel guilty.
You know what?
Don't change their minds.
I gotta be honest with you though. Most of us atheists, we know that Christians really don't believe in God.
There's actually a book to that effect. I'm trying to remember who wrote it, but it trying to prove the case. Basically, it's just a book about cognitive dissonance and the fact that Christians live not as Christians say, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so those are the replies, and obviously Paul had the best one. But if you like to be passive aggressive like me, hey, consider mine. It's
like if you want to be a dick, then
yeah,
do my thing.
when I want to be constructive, I will be switching to Paul's response. I don't always want to be constructive because sometimes I'm talking to my family.
My approach is way more fun. My approach is way more fun.
Yeah, so is heroin. Okay.
Heroin is not fun? What are you talking about?
Peggy,
the thoughts expressed by some of the hosts of this show do not reflect...
Hey, Jimmy.
Hi, Peggy.
This is actually really exciting for me because I've really wanted to talk about this for a while.
Okay.
So I am a high schooler in the Bible Belt in a really small town in North Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Hey.
And so a little backstory is I've actually, funny enough, have grown up atheist. My father is atheist. He'll actually sometimes watch a show with me, which is pretty cool.
Very cool.
And so...
Wait, do you get together and watch it? Are you saying you get together and you watch it together? Oh, well, that's the fucking dream.
Ask her if she's comfortable sharing what part of North Carolina she's from.
Well, we usually watch it like around dinner or something.
Kyle wants to know if you're comfortable sharing the general region in North Carolina that you're in.
I think it's called like the Piedmont region, not the mountains, but not beaches.
That's where Kyle is. That's where Kyle lives. Yeah.
Tell him I'm in Greensboro.
I didn't know that.
He's in Greensboro. Greensboro.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah. He'll be doing meetups, and the moment you graduate high school, you will be welcome to. There's probably booze at your meetup, so the moment you graduate college, you'll be welcome.
Tell anyone.
Anyway, Peggy, what's your question?
So I wanted to ask y'all. I know many of y'all have really went through the atheist transition later in life. But how do y'all think you should deal with
being an atheist in such a small town where it's very Christian, and like I'm very open about it, even though I know that's probably not the smartest thing to do.
Yes, it is.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
I'm very open about it. And so sometimes I don't always feel very safe even. So do y'all have any advice?
Yeah.
Yes.
And like with the others, we're going to drop the call there, but we'll talk about that one by one, starting with Kyle, who is in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, since I live literally where you do, and I am also atheist, I know exactly what you mean. And it took me a long time before I was ready to come out as an atheist. And once you do it, it's not that bad. I think at a certain level, and this is a guess on my part, I don't know this for certain, but I think a lot of people nowadays do the church, the Christian thing, because it's a family tradition or it's something that they're accustomed to, it's a community, and not because of the emphasis on God. Now that does happen a lot, but if you notice in Greensboro, from where I am, in a 3-mile radius, right, there are about 8 churches, I think was the newspaper article. Okay, these are Baptist churches, Methodist churches, and a Pentecostal church. Now in this 3-mile radius, those 8 are now condensed to 2. They have went from 8 churches to 2, and the Methodist and Baptist came together and joined up and went into one church, so they didn't lose that church, and the other ones have shut down and since then been sold. So it's declining all across the country, but especially here in these small towns. And if you want to wear that on your sleeve and be proud of that, you go right ahead. Now, if there's a certain situation where you don't feel safe doing that, then I wouldn't, because nothing's that's not worth you getting harmed for in any way. But if you feel out and proud and you want to broadcast that, I say go, girl.
When it's safe and you have backup. Anybody else want to jump in on before I'm going to actually compare it to when I grew up as a Mormon in the Bible Belt, which, believe it or not, is comparable, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Well, I'm an atheist who's been... Oh, go ahead, Paul.
Well, I was going to say you're obviously out, so that there's not a lot of those decisions that we often say. Make sure you're financially secure and your home is secure and all that kind of stuff. To young people like yourself. So I mean, I think a lot of us advocate. We're atheist advocates, and we really want great examples out there of people being atheists who are generally moral and generally good people, and that's what we most needed is great atheists who are not what they think atheists are. So my advice is, my hope is that if you are proudly wearing the label, that you are also generally doing proud of what you want people to perceive atheism to be, and that's really the only.
Yeah, that's great.
Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah. So I live in a small town as well, in a relatively religious community in a rural area also. So I live right in the middle of farm country in rural Nova Scotia, smack dab in the middle of the province. And one of the things that I do, I don't walk around with my I'm a heathen atheist shirts on. I just walk around being myself. And when it comes up in conversation, like when people ask me what church I go to, I just say, matter of factly, I don't. I'm an atheist. And most people, I started doing that relatively recently, actually, a little while, especially when people send me those chain mails through Facebook Messenger about God praying. I say, thank you, I appreciate the sentiment. However, you don't need to forward these to me. I'm an atheist. And these people know me, and they know me through my community activism. They know me through our children being friends with one another. And that creates a little bit of dissonance with them, because they aren't in a position where they can immediately attack me for just my beliefs, because they know who I am. Now, those are situations where I'm comfortable. I find it a little bit more difficult at my job. For example, I have a relatively large Jehovah's Witness contingent and a lot of fairly religious people at my job, and I'm a little more nervous there. I don't want to lose my job. But in my
You're about
real
to come out,
life, it's in my real life, like my day-to-day life in my community, more and more people are surprising me with acceptance. You know, some people are a little bit about it, and those people, I think to myself, okay, well, if you're going to judge me based solely on the fact that I believe something different than you, then now I know a little bit more about you, and that'll help me inform our relationship going forward. And the people that are like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, I'm like, all right, that informed me a little bit more about you, and that'll inform our relationship going forward. I think those are the best ways to do it, and instantiate the best version of yourself. That's something you should just do anyways, instantiate the best version of yourself. But I think there's too many people that are afraid to ascribe to the label because they buy into what it means, and they're afraid that that label is going to be attached to them with all of the shitty baggage that comes with it, without the realization that the only way to counter all of that shitty baggage is to be the person that proves that shit, to prove that it's wrong.
But you're about to come out in a big way to your community when you make that acceptance speech at your.
That was today. Do you know what happened today though? Like, okay, so I was the top fundraiser. That MS Walk was today. I was the top fundraiser and I was the top team, but because the pledges don't close, because people are still turning in money. They announced the previous year's top fundraisers this year. So I stood there and they announced the person from last year, and she came second to me this year.
What a crock of shit.
Next year to get my name announced.
No, so next year she can give the speech.
Yeah.
What a crock of shit. I would have went up there and Kanye West, Taylor Swift did that
and
shit.
I didn't even
I'm
know
gonna let you finish in a minute.
Literally standing next to me with her like carrier, and she walked up, and I was like, ah! And I beat her by $400 this year. Oh, anyway.
I'm gonna let you finish in a minute, but there is no God.
Your
I'll
fundraising.
get my mom on the phone. She was pissed too because she thought that I was going up. She was mad.
Your fundraising efforts were good, but Beyonce had the best fundraiser of all time.
I'm gonna let you talk.
I grew up as a Mormon in, I'm not sure if Florida, so I lived in Tennessee, Louisiana, and Florida are the southern states that I've lived in. And Florida was the place that was the most hostile where we lived in Florida. It was also a strange community where it was normal, polite conversation to learn a person's name and then ask them what church they go to. I mean, literally, this was the most common introduction there. And people despised Mormons where I lived. And I was told by teachers and students that I was going to hell. I had one teacher ask me to stop participating in class and just sit and listen. And when pressed on it, revealed that she doesn't want my words dragging everybody else down to hell. So, yeah.
Question: Why would you argue with a teacher who told you she didn't want you participating in class? I would be like, fuck yeah.
Have you met me? I'm a little fucking nerd, dude. But anyway, I always liked participating. Otherwise, I didn't enjoy going to school. If you just sit and it's quiet, I hated that part. I hated classes like that. Anyway, and so basically the number one thing that helped me then, but it also helped reinforce obviously an identity that wasn't good, but now that it's a more positive identity, was community and finding a group of people you feel safe with, you feel safe talking to, people who are your friends, people who have your back, people who are good at mediating when you have, especially since you're going to be loud and proud about it, and it sounds like something of an activist, people who are good at being the person in the middle of those conversations when you're trying to have it more deliberately. Obviously, a lot of those conversations happen not deliberately too. But yeah, so community is the number one, and find community, I'd say, both in your town if you can, but then also we have this amazing fucking internet that all of us are abusing and using poorly, but we could be using for more good. I say that because I
abuse the hell out of the internet. Can I tell you a story?
And myself, if you know what I mean.
Speaking of that, I went and looked up just because I was curious. You know, you can go and backtrack your Google search history to when you started your account, like whatever your account is associated with that. So I went on a random Thursday several years ago, and I searched for these three terms. Okay, hammer, duct tape, and gummy bears. Now tell me the context in which somebody would would look up hammer, duct tape, and gummy bears.
I
You
mean,
were doing
clearly,
some work and wanted a snack?
Kidnapping. Gotta be a kidnapping.
Exactly. I was going more with kidnapping. Either a child who loves gummy bears or an adult who works or an adult who works at a gummy bear factory. Maybe the president of Haribo. I don't know.
You know what's funny though? Oddly enough, when I that night I blacked out, Shannon, and I woke up in Walmart. That's what I had in the gummy bears.
Yeah.
Gummy bears.
I love
grapes.
gummy bears.
I bet you had grapes. You always had goddamn grapes, like Cleopatra. You're such a diva.
Yeah, you know what? I need to hire somebody to walk around and feed them to me. That's a good idea.
I have loved gummy bears my entire life, and I have to, but it is an active. I have to actively work to not think about how they make gummy bears to enjoy them. And if you don't know,
don't tell me. Shut your mouth.
It's a
what?
They boil bones, and then it becomes gelatin.
Oh yeah.
Why did I told you to shut the fuck up?
Gummy bears are chewy bones.
I hate your
I knew
face.
that.
God damn it!
Yeah.
Why do you ruin everything, Jimmy? God damn
That's true.
it!
That's one
It's
way that
not
you make.
vegan.
That's one way that you make gelatin though.
Yeah.
Or, like anything with
How's
gelatin
that?
in it. Jello.
How's that 2-pound gummy bear coming, Shan?
Why won't everybody shut up when I?
How
tell
many
them
cows
to?
did you have to kill for that 2-pound gummy bear?
That's an elephant leg. That's an elephant leg.
My goodness.
I hope you're happy.
Shut up.
An entire
No,
elephant
I am
skeleton.
not happy. I make really poor decisions in Friends.
That's true. Let's get this final call in here. And forgive me because I'm not positive of how to say the name. So the first thing will need to be you correcting me. Is it Alia?
Yeah, it's Alia.
Alia. Okay, perfect.
It's Alia. Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Hi. I'm alright. I'm doing a janky thing because I'm trying to watch because I can't hear everybody.
Yeah.
It's like a 7 or 8 second delay. So I know. I can understand why they feel it's annoying now too.
Yeah. I got you.
I'm also the one who sent you the. Yeah, I'm also the one who sent you the Haryana CES letter. Pokemon Go at the Church of Latter-day Saints that is like literally close by. I sent you that tweet picture.
Oh yeah.
You might not remember.
I
Okay.
vaguely do. I remember Pokemon and CES letter. That's as far as I've gotten in my head.
Yeah. And that is my last name if you were curious, legally. Both before and after.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we won't share that out with the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll keep that to
No,
ourselves.
that's why exactly. That's why I was saying that like without saying the last name.
Got it.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
What was
No
your
worries.
question for the group here?
So, it's kind of about, well, it is about forgiveness and whether or not you can. I'm a trans woman, and my parents and my brother were like pretty much transphobic my entire life, and then they became, I guess, at best armchair allies when Caitlyn Jenner came out. I'll just say NIMBY. Because eventually when I did come out, I hadn't spoken to them for about 9 months, and I tried giving them a second chance. And then during that second chance, they falsely accused me of threatening to rape or sexually assault my sister-in-law, which I then cut off conversations. And then they also believed that I, when I couldn't afford to go to a wedding, that I didn't go to, that I wasn't even aware of because a scam artist called them, saying that I went to this wedding, then I rented a car, and then drove that car, crashing it and killing somebody. They believed all this stuff, and they've done other things throughout my life that have been transphobic. Using my pronouns like a dagger. I guess my question is, I mean, there's been plenty of abuse in different ways, but even if it's just for yourself, like, is there a limit to forgiveness? Like, can you forgive people like that?
Gotcha.
Can you forgive them even if you're never going to see them again or don't ever want to speak to them again?
I think I know two of us have very strong feelings about this, and I'm sure all four of us do. As with the others, switch over to YouTube because I want to make sure you can be able to hear all of this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think this is a good topic to finish out on. We'll let the call go now and do the response there. But thank you for calling in.
And of course, I'd love to see what the chat says too. Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
As I mean, this is
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have thoughts, and I'm gonna get probably somebody else go first and let me gather, because my immediate response is no, fuck them, never talk to them ever again. But so let me actually get a more coherent thing going.
I think Jimmy's initial reaction is right in a way. It ultimately depends on how much you're willing to sort of take from somebody, but of course, forgiveness is something that you can always give to anybody. You just have to draw the line somewhere. You have to decide with you what is enough. And for somebody that doesn't take your well-being into account, somebody that purposely tries to hurt you or lie about you or spread rumors about you and that sort of thing, isn't someone that I would be interested in having in my life at all. And it would be a thing where you don't even have to necessarily forgive them, just forget about them. Move on and cut that negativity out of your life. But if it's something that you want to pursue and something that you want to forgive, and you feel like you need to have that person in your life, then if they seem like they're changing their ways and they see the error of their ways and they're working hard to try to restore that relationship, that would be a time where you could consider forgiving them. But until they do that, I would like Jimmy, I would say fuck that and cut it out.
Shannon?
Family is who you choose.
Oh, Paul, yeah, go ahead.
Family is who you choose, and who chooses you. So you don't even need to continue to call them family necessarily. And I hope that you have found, and it sounds like perhaps you have found, people who do support you and do treat you the way that your blood should treat you. And I hope you found that community. Oddly, when I was a Christian, it wasn't forgive and forget. That saying was actually not welcomed by anyone. It was generally forgive and do not forget. Because you need to be wary the second time, the third time, the fourth time, and there's only so many chances someone deserves, and that is up to you to decide how many chances they get, not up to them how many chances they get. And so if you want to cut them off right now, whatever is healthiest for you, you absolutely should do. But contra to what Kyle just said, I would say, even if you never talk to them again, and perhaps that sounds like the best thing to do, that's up to you. But forgiveness, choosing not to forgive means you're carrying some extra weight and some extra hate and some extra baggage around. I think everyone on this panel is carrying baggage around that we probably could set down if we wanted to, but we are choosing not to, possibly to our own detriment. But for your own benefit, sometimes setting that baggage down comes in the form of forgiving them, even if you never intend to see them again. And it will not be to their benefit. It doesn't help them that you've forgiven them, but it just means putting down that burden of carrying it around every day. So that's what I would say.
Okay. I have super strong thoughts about
when I said I know two of us, because you and I have talked about this before, you were the other one I was sure on. Yeah.
So nobody is owed a relationship with you on their terms. Nobody. Doesn't matter who they are. Not a soul. Gets to dictate the parameters of a relationship that the two of you are going to have and force you to adhere to it to your own detriment. Absolutely nobody is owed that. Now, when they go an extra step and actively harm you again and again and again, consistently, and demonstrate a pattern of behavior that's a detriment to you, You do not owe them forgiveness. Utterly, absolutely, you do not. Now, what Paul said, I'm going to disagree with slightly. I think that you need to find a way to reconcile the loss of that relationship. I think that mourning the loss of a relationship can sometimes take the form of forgiveness. But mirroring what Paul said, being able to set that baggage down is important. But you don't owe anybody forgiveness, because in some circumstances, forgiveness is perceived both internally and externally as a justification for the manner in which you were treated, and an allowance to yourself that it was okay. And you don't ever, ever, ever have to accept it as okay. You don't owe that to anybody. And if feeling as though you should do that is a detriment to you, because you feel as though you're not fulfilling something that you should be doing, because everybody tells you, you should forgive them so that you can move on. You should forgive them so that you can move on, and you just can't do that. That's okay. But you need to find a way to reconcile so that you can move on. And that may not take the form of forgiveness. You don't owe them shit. That's my opinion.
Okay. I'm going to try and do this.
I can tell.
There are some categories in here that are going to get me very emotional. I'm going to try and not let that affect my presentation here. What I hear from you is that you are in a cycle of abuse with your family, and that it is only going to be broken, maybe with individuals, maybe with all of them, by breaking those cycles of abuse and removing those relationships. If that's not the case, I don't know your full story. You gave me basically a paragraph synopsis. That's maybe something to consult more with an actual therapist and say, here's all of the things, and they can help you make the determination of whether that is true. I can tell you in my own life, I was raised with the number one family rule is loyalty. That is an actual sentence we heard daily. Number one rule is loyalty. Loyalty to the family. And this has led to cover-ups within my family of abuse, neglect of taking care of abuse, not caring about things, or rather picking who we're going to care about more, because X happened, and to fix X, we would have to throw Y under the bus. We might even have to call the police on Y, because they're, frankly, that is deserving for some of the people in my family. But because that means that would break the loyalty rule, we won't. There are people in my family who I still talk to. There are people in my family I casually talk to. And there are people in my family who I will not talk to. And they are completely cut off from me because they destroyed my mental health growing up and were hidden behind this concept of family loyalty. One of them is a brother that theoretically, if you look at our age difference and where we fall in which sibling came when, we should have been friends and we should have been supportive. Instead, since as young as I can remember, this individual has had an obsession with trying to make themselves feel better than I am, because besides the loyalty thing, my family also fostered an inter-sibling competitive nature. And so everyone got their value based on if they were doing better than another sibling was. And our parents would just outright say who the best siblings are at such and such. And that led to this obsession. And this is an individual who, I don't remember who said it. I think it was Paul, who I told, you aren't my family. As far as I'm concerned, we aren't family anymore. And this isn't a thing of like, in 10 years, we'll have a crying reunion. I'm done with you for the rest of my life. And that's where I came down on it and where am going to stay. I also am of the opinion, fuck forgiveness in some cases. Everybody on this call is a better person than me, so take that with a grain of salt. But I won't forgive certain types of abuses and certain things that happen to me. That's not to say that I don't let them rule my life, and they are, but there is lasting damage there that I'm not going to let go of what the source of that was. And in doing so, it has also led me to difficult decisions as I see other members of this family now splitting off with their own family, doing this stuff to other people that are their new family, and having to wrestle with decisions of, do I interfere? And having that inlaid like, no, if you do, you're a terrible person because you have loyalty to your family. And a fucking line I heard from my parents time and time again, we don't call the police on our own family. And that unfortunately is not something that I'm glad I don't feel that way anymore, because there are times that it has become necessary. I'm not remotely in favor of it. The amount of people do shitty things to each other, but abuse cycles can't be stood for. And from what little I've gleaned from what you discussed, what you described, I think you're in an abusive cycle. I say don't forgive fucking any of them, and use that to get therapy, work on yourself, and maybe your therapist will insist on forgiveness, but get therapy, work on yourself, and work on yourself away from your family, or the specific family members are that way. That was like as good of a disjointed version of my explanation of my fucked up mental state as I could give, without going too far into detail or explaining like what all of my terrible, hateful triggers are. Because I do got that baggage Paul was talking about. And it's heavy.
And it's Gucci.
It is Gucci. It's also fabulous. So I 100% think you should cut those people out of your life and
cut it out.
Forgive things that are forgivable, but know when things aren't.
I just did a Full House reference, and no one got it. So
no, I got it.
We got it. We were just letting it go so that you wouldn't be embarrassed.
Full House was on in my house all the time while I was being abused. Thank you, Kyle. Just kidding.
Oh my god.
Fuck off.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's my. It's led to incredible triggers for me. Like this week, Lucy, who is one of the mods in the chat right now, sent me pictures of her son graduating, and you could see that she was very proud and excited. And I immediately started crying because I was like, "Oh, this is what a supportive family looks like." And for some reason, that's just a huge trigger for me. As soon as I see like, holy shit, some people just unconditionally love their family, like. That was I shouldn't say unconditionally, because I'm actually here advocating for conditional love, but that was a huge trigger for me just immediately. And it's seriously just pictures of them like smiling together and her talking about how proud she was, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my god,
that's awful.
That was tough. That was tough for me to go to not. I try to hold these things in because I'm very masculine. That's what everyone says about me.
The word on the street.
Let's do the super chats, and then if everybody here has time to stick around, I want to talk about Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So if you don't want spoilers, you should leave now.
Well, after the super chats.
No, go ahead and leave now.
I'm gonna listen. God damn, Mike.
Get out of here.
Just go.
I'll try and breeze through mine fast. Kyle, do you have yours up too?
I'm pulling them up right now.
Cool. Sneelbobs1878 says YouTube free super chat. That's right. Everyone with YouTube Premium, you get one free $2 super chat every month, and it's free to give away. So please do that to your favorite creators. Doesn't have to be me, but I'd prefer that too.
Do it to me.
Give it to Shannon. The Gavin guy, thank you. Juju New 07, Mr. Atheist, I love your face and your heart. Ah, well, thank you. White Ferret, I am ex-Mormon. Dad is a pioneer stock, and we have a distant relative who's a 70. Oh, man, ITSCC because it's BS, and I'm gender queer. It took decades for me to admit it to myself. I still feel guilt. I dress how I'm comfortable, but don't say it out loud. Thank you. White Ferret, I am so happy to hear that you got out of that nonsense. And especially like, it sounds like you had the same issue with me, which is that even after getting out of the church, I had to deprogram my homophobia to identify my own sexuality, which was not as cishet as I originally thought, and as people on Twitter assume about me. I couldn't help it. Then Juju New asked, do you do a Jack Nicholson impression? Does anyone here? Because I don't really.
I feel pretty.
Here's Johnny. I can't do it at all.
What?
All right.
That was West Side Story.
I know, but you never seen the movie where it's him and Adam Sandler and they sing the song in the car? Come on, that's
No.
Oh
No.
my God.
You can't handle the atheism. Maples, thanks for taking my call. I know you are all true allies. I've even been called for a transphobe as of late. You're doing such great work. Thank you so much. And yeah, it's pretty ridiculous when they start to call people in the trans community transphobes. That's when you know this isn't actually about the cause. Shy the Druid, hi. Hello back at you. Saber 8M, halflings and dwarves are separate races in TNT. I know they are. Did I say it wrong?
You must have misspoke the first time. Because that's what I thought I heard you say the first time too, that they were the same. So you may have just been a slip of the tongue. The second time you definitely clarified.
Okay, you know what I must have done is said. I thought I said dwarves and then I thought I said and halflings, or dwarves are badass, and then I thought I said halflings are also badass too. But I must have just said halflings also or something and let half the sentence go or some fucking shit. I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to discount my nerdiness. Blue Soul Jim, when kids will be taken away from Slanderson. Oh, like Steven Anderson? Fuck, I don't know. Yeah, fuck. I don't know. And part of me thinks he's displayed enough. If Alex Jones got his kids taken away, I don't see why Steven Anderson hasn't. Fuck that guy. Not gonna lie, I don't use Twitter, so I probably miss shit, and the debate has become too messy and confusing for me to follow well, but I'm sorry you, and this is from Catherine Ideas, you and those you care about have been dragged through the dirt for something that wasn't even your issue initially, can never make everyone happy, and we're all still learning to respect everyone and be good people for the world. All the love to you all. Sorry if I don't have eloquent insight. All this got too much for me to follow like other drama. Thank you. It was also too much for me to follow, and it was drama I was in.
Never go on
and
Twitter.
Congratulations on better use of your time.
Yeah,
yes, if you don't have a Twitter account, never open one, ever.
Part of me, I've considered deleting Twitter so seriously so many times this week, and the only reason I haven't is because it genuinely helps my channel to have a place to tweet out new videos, because notifications often don't go out. So that's been hard.
Yeah.
The Brandon Sullivan adventure. So you believe in cryptids and spirits even though you're atheist? I myself do, but I don't know if others do. All the love. I don't believe in spirits or cryptids or anything that. I really don't believe in anything supernatural. I think what was the joke I said on Twitter this week? The closest thing I do to religious thinking is how nice I am to my Amazon Echo because I want her to like me. That's as religious as I get.
Racist bitch.
God, you're making me want to ask my Alexa if she likes you so bad.
Do it.
Y'all are weird. Y'all are so weird.
Alexa, do you like Jimmy?
I don't have an opinion on that.
Oh, she doesn't have an opinion?
Most people don't. Most people don't.
It's better than her disliking me, but I'm a little hurt.
Wait. Shannon, ask Alexa about me.
Alexa, do you like Kyle?
I don't have an opinion on that.
Good.
No, she doesn't have an opinion on you either.
The Brandon Sullivan adventure says, I'm heading out now. Have a wonderful day, Mr. Atheist. McGay says, I never played D&D, but if I do, I want to be a bard and seduce my way out of every situation. Hell yeah. We can play together. Catherine Ideas, that was from McGay, by the way. Catherine Ideas says, Jimmy Snow is a bootleg Adam Conover now. Thanks. Adam Conover does the Adam ruins everything. Yeah, I do ruin everything. Dylan Fuller, I came out officially as at my high school graduation with my chosen name, Dylan, being said instead of dead name. I was the first in the county to do so from Florida. Very, very brave of you. And whether you know it or not, you have trailblazed the way for other people to feel more accepted in your area too.
Kill it.
LC, thank you for being brave and speaking the truth. I'm either brave or just not smart. Arden Lytel, thank you. It's the latter, not smart. Non-Sequitur show, Kyle has better hair. Well, I did have to read it out loud, but the opinions expressed on this show are not necessary.
Don't call back to my joke.
That's a callbacks are art form.
God damn it. This is horseshit.
McGay says, can you ask Kyle? McGay wants me to ask Kyle to pass the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. At least it's the real stuff this time. Dylan Fuller, I also have triggers like that. My aunt, my proper mom, she loves me so much, and being around her family is bittersweet because they love me like a real son. They treat me like a real son. Good. I'm glad you found somebody. My adulthood has been tragedy. I'm still looking for that new family. Some of the people here can be in it. Not Kyle. No, I'm kidding. Kyle's going to be my husband.
Your daddy.
Either one. Gedry, much love and respect for you all. Thank you very much. Kyle, do you want to get yours in?
Yeah. Tyler Crayson with a super chat with no message. Thank you. Nate M. Gnomes are a race of their own in D&D. This is a serious thing.
Yeah.
That people are taking, like, of all the shit that we've talked about, this is striking the biggest nerve. Sam Wiesen, great show. Video for Bitter Water Supply Company soon. Okay, good luck in that, Sam Wiesen.
Okay, I get it now.
That's an abortion reference.
I think I get it now. I did say gnomes and halflings were the same thing, and then I started talking about dwarves. That's what got mixed. Okay, got it. They're not the same thing. Gnomes and halflings.
Everybody knows, Jimmy. That's why we're getting so many super chats to tell us why you fucked up.
But for
everybody
the record,
else knew.
For the record, wood elves and dark elves are the same thing. And if you disagree, I will only agree if we raise another $1,000 in super chats that they're not.
Okay.
Don't encourage his bullshit.
There's that. Also, for the people that super chatted tonight, following tomorrow's show, we will be having an after show on Discord. I've got all of your names here. I need you to send me your emails to live@nonsexshow.com so that I can bring you in, and that'll be after tomorrow's show. Furry Skeptic says, "Hi gang, so I won a 5-foot Iron Throne standee. What would you do with it right now? Plushie Deadpool is sitting on it. Hashtag how it should have ended." Again, spoilers, but so leave if you don't want spoilers. I'll give you 5 seconds to close out if you don't want spoilers. But I'll tell you what you should do with that. Okay, take a flamethrower to it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Melt it.
Destroy it. And not as an homage to what Drogon did.
Yeah.
No.
Just out of hatred.
Fuck that shit.
And burn it.
I got
talk about Game of Thrones?
I got two more here really quick to read. James Sivers says gnomes and halflings are separate races in D&D. Sorry, that was my bad. And Tiffany, thank you very much for your super chat. Okay.
Gnomes and halflings separate races in D&D.
I'm not finished yet. Magdalena sent a heart. Thank you. Sarah slaps chat. How does God justify his beliefs? Kuyasa, Kyle, are you really an atheist?
In secret.
Are you sure you're not agnostic?
Oh! Can you please make your Twitter handle the Pope of Agnosticism?
I'm demodding you, Kuyasa. Yes, Jimmy, just for you. Or woke gnome, Shannon.
Hashtag woke gnome. Do you have any more?
Yes, Mavordius says, I go by Mavordius in Discord. Let's chat later. Yes, that will be tomorrow, after tomorrow's stream. Atraxian Gadfley, I hope I'm saying that right. 4 of the people who helped inspire me to speak up, I appreciate all of you. Oh, that's nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just double checking, but I think that's yes.
I got 2 new ones. Windfish says, keep up the great work, you guys. And Elizabeth Young says, as a New Zealander, your ignorance around halflings, better known as hobbits, can get you banned. You have been warned. I would like to apologize to the country of New Zealand. Can we discuss why the 3 of us, Shannon, Kyle, and myself, are right that the season of Game of Thrones was complete garbage and that Paul is wrong?
No, hang on. Let me say. I am somewhat on Paul, I'm somewhat on Paul's side here because I don't think it was bad. Like, I don't think the ending was bad. I think that they rushed it.
What's your definition of bad?
Yeah.
They rushed it. Hold on, let me explain. They rushed it too much. Too many things happened that should have been spread out over 10 or 12 episodes. The way that it ended wasn't bad, but I didn't believe that Daenerys would go. I didn't believe her when she was burning down King's Landing. Like, to me, it was too rushed. It was too.
That's where you're wrong.
The switch flip.
Oh,
too much.
Paul, I'm about to lose my mind. Shane, God bless Shane. Shane's the best Discord mod in the history of the world and live chat mod. It's just the best. He created a room, a Game of Thrones spoilers room, just so that I would have a place to throw all my fucking pissed off anger at all of this nonsense. So Jon kills her, and then the dragon doesn't kill Jon, just burns the throne. And then what happens? The Dothraki that were not all dead, apparently, their lights didn't all go out because there's a bunch of them now. The Dothraki are just like, he walks out, nobody saw him kill her. He walks out and it's just like, sorry guys, I killed her. And they're like, you know what? Until we can find a suitable replacement, we're just gonna keep you in the hold here. So let's just politely escort you. The Dothraki would have killed the shit out of Jon. Like, there are storyline holes so huge.
This is a show about magic and walking ice zombies and shit. You
don't get to hide behind that, because we had 7 seasons.
Yes,
I'll say 7. They started to rush things in season 7, but I liked the first 7 seasons. You had 7 seasons of incredible character development to get Daenerys to the point where she would come beyond the wall, put her life and her dragons at risk to save Jon and his group of misfits from White Walkers, falls in love, all that, becomes this amazing hero. And that entire thing, I'm not saying they weren't developing toward that same ending. I'm saying that if they did, that progression should have taken the 3 more seasons the series deserved to get there. The rush is a huge part of it. You don't have 7 seasons of character development that you unravel and basically just turn completely around with no good explanation in another 4 episodes. Because that's how long it took.
What I would defend. So Shannon went a whole different direction, but Kyle was saying that Dany's turn was the problem, and I will defend Dany's turn, because Dany has been she's been the Mad King's daughter since season 2, when she got sold by her brother to Drogo, who taught her how to lead. I don't think you guys remember her like burning all the Tarleys and
it was right.
Putting her handmaidens who the slightest betrayal, I'm just going to go lock you up with the dragons. There was lots of foreshadowing. There was the line over and over again, a lone Targaryen is in the world is a bad thing. There was the every time a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin, which they brought up again later on. I mean, this thing was foreshadowed. Dany.
Those things were like justified though. When she burned all those people, they either betrayed her or they were horrible, shitty people. Like, that was justified. What she did in King's Landing was burning women, children, everything. Like,
because she didn't get fucked.
No, but she's been a mad queen for a long time, and
she
Kyle
was too.
And Jon,
it just so happened that she was on the right side when she was
stripped everyone away right before that. They stripped Jon away from her. They stripped her aides away from her. They, like, when you are a person who is stripped of everything, and all you are left with is the one ambition that you think you had, burn it all down.
She had won it though. She had won it. Like, the bells were ringing.
if you were going to do that development, I 100% agree that the foreshadowing was there, and I agree that there were times where she was brash, and Tyrion called it out and said, you shouldn't have done that, but you did do that, and she went, no, I should have done that. But the leap from there, and by the way, I can fix this whole thing with 10 seconds of stuff. Literally, I mean, if you actually follow the story arc, the reason why she burned that whole thing down, and the creators even kind of confirmed this after, was that she didn't get laid the night before. Because they, in their little thing afterwards, they're like, if any of these things didn't happen, she wouldn't have been messed up. And so, like, one of them was Jorah dying, one of them was Missandei dying, and then the other was not getting laid. If Jon
Jon wouldn't kiss her back. I mean, yes.
If Jon would have put out, genocide wouldn't have happened. If you want that level of development that fast, okay, I understand, but I'd fuck my aunt to save. I'd fuck my aunt to prevent genocide. I'm just saying, genocide's on the line. But anyway,
Jamie's aunt's getting laid.
Yeah, or someone will fly with a dragon and burn everyone you love.
He had faith in her. He trusted that she wasn't going to do that shit, or he wouldn't have been there to begin with.
But
and there's
I'm
bigger
saying
plot holes than
this
that.
is driving a wedge in all of our relationships. I don't think the same about any of you.
I got a drink because I'm mad.
The development of that was way too quick. And I've been saying a lot, if you want to stick to that and you want to hold to it, you could have added 10 seconds at the Battle of Winterfell where the dude tries to spear Drogon and instead it misses, but it whiffs her, just a little whiff, and then you make a storyline about that basically corrupting her with the will of the Night King, and then you can do it that fast. But instead, first of all, they were fucking just teleporting everywhere. It was literally like, we're over here on Dragonstone right now. We really need a plan. Oh shit, we should have formed that plan before we're now just standing in front of Cersei with a bunch of her scorpions, and she's not just killing us for some reason.
Can I say,
well, I'm not going to defend the timing. Like, no one here is going to defend timing.
That's the worst part.
They spent 2 episodes in front of a fire knighting Brienne for half an hour. Like that didn't need to happen.
I'm pissed off of that. What they did to Cersei, like the way that they killed. Now Cersei was my favorite character in the show. I'm
not shocked.
That checks
out. I love
out.
Cersei because of like just her resting bitch face is amazing. Like nothing compares to that.
Oh, yeah.
But the way that they killed her was fucked up. Now I will say this: I like how they switched Dany and Cersei at the end, where they showed the monster side of Dany, but the human side of Cersei in those last moments. I thought that was a really good contrast and a nice touch. But I hate the way that they killed her. Hate it.
I will say during season 7, I called that the last scene of the show would be Jon walking away in the woods. So I was very proud of myself for that.
And I called that Bran was going to be king, didn't I? I did.
I genuinely thought Tormund went north of the wall. To tell you the truth, I still think this is how it should have ended. I thought when Tormund said he was going north of the wall, I was like, oh no. I really thought what the final scene was going to be was Jon discovering White Walkers, and you find out that Tormund has become the new Night King. And I thought that's where they were going to leave it. I thought that's where it was going.
I'm glad they did.
It ended too happy.
They should have done that.
Can we talk about how Jon got his punishment for killing the queen after they elected at a council, just a random council, like that Bronn, because fucking Tyrion said that Bronn should be king, and everybody's like, you know what, that makes sense, and just puts up their fucking Bran, whatever. I
didn't mind that.
Don't correct my pronunciation when I'm angry.
Well, but Bronn is a different character.
Yeah, it's a different
character.
Think
about it though, Shannon. Like he saw in his visions like he was going to be the king. That's why he.
Okay, that's the goddamn thing. So that means that he knew that she was going to commit genocide, and was like, if it means I'm king,
he can't. He can't see the future. You could give him the benefit of the doubt.
No, he can't see the future. Remember that?
No, he can't.
That first time he worked out, he saw that dragon flying over.
So
over King's Landing.
He can have visions separately, and the dragon over King's Landing was not his. That was Dany's vision.
That was him.
But visions.
No, that was Dany.
Yeah, that was Dany's.
Yeah.
That was when she was in the Hall of the Undead, I think it's called. What's that place called?
You're talking about the throne room vision?
Yeah.
with the snow. Yeah, that was Danny's vision.
Or the ash.
What just before, just when she was waking from the Drogo resurrection stuff. Anyway,
he can see the present and the past, everything that, but he can't see the future. He was generally, so I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. He was generally aware and kind of knew what was going to have to happen. Shannon pointed out a huge hole earlier, which is another thing you could have explained away. The only reason Grey Worm wouldn't have executed Jon on the spot, which Drogon would have too, is if they were torturing Jon that whole time. But apparently he was just chilling in that room. Like, that was never addressed.
People are saying it was Bran, by the way.
The wall, and the wall's not even fucking needed anymore, by the way, and is now not even part of the Seven Kingdoms. It's part of the independent kingdom of the North.
Yeah.
So they exile it, like, that makes no friggin' sense.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. And also the wall was laced with magic. That was what was stopping the White Walkers from even getting through the wall. What, did the dragon somehow have more magic to counter the wall than like 1 million White Walkers?
The undead dragon fire, I think, is the explanation, because dragons are magical beings. They're not natural in there.
Is your complaint that the Night Watch shouldn't be necessary anymore? Is that your complaint?
It was Bran's vision?
It was Bran's vision. Yes, I just Googled it.
He did already abandon it.
He saw genocide coming and was like, worth it if I'm king.
Yeah.
Which vision are you talking about then? Because you said it was the one with the ash falling on.
The dragon.
No, it was the one with the dragon flying over King's Landing.
So he may have had an isolated vision. We don't know how much of the vision he had. Bran definitely cannot just see all of the future. That I promise.
Yeah, the three-eyed raven before him couldn't see the future
either. Yeah.
Well, there's that part where I think, who was it that was talking to Bran, and he made a nod to it where he was like, I saw it. Can't remember what he said in the last like 5 minutes of the show. I'll have to Google it again. Hold on. Y'all go ahead.
But like when he gave Arya the knife, he didn't know that that's what was going to help.
Bullshit.
He thought because he foreshadowed, and because he made her take it and said something along the lines of, "You're going to need this more than me."
Yeah, because he can't
fight.
Talking
to Theon, he said, "You're exactly where you need to be."
Right.
That's just fortune cookie advice.
Right. Bran is still clearly either possessed by. Bran's either possessed by the Lord of Light, is the Lord of Light, or is just apparently some super magic dude who isn't really that helpful.
I thought maybe they were going to go with he is the Lord of Light, because I thought they maybe needed if they needed a physical manifestation of the Lord of Light versus the Night King,
right?
The Ice King.
Here we go. Where it says, did Bran actually foresee himself becoming king? When Tyrion Lannister asked him if he'll take the role, Bran answers, "Why do you think I came all this way?"
Right. No, I wasn't denying that. I think he came to that conclusion based on how basically he's the wisest person to exist. Not.
That's him saying, "I knew why I was coming here." There's so much bullshit foreshadowing with him, and everything comes to fruition from his foreshadowing. And then at the end, he says, "Why do you think I came?"
Bran's never surprised by anything, though. Like, he literally just looked up.
Why wouldn't you be surprised?
He looked up at the Night King, was just like, "All right, there you are, buddy." And obviously, because he knew
Arya was going to stab him.
Not because he saw it in the future. Not because he saw it in the future, because he can always see everything always happening. He knew Arya was coming to kill him because Arya was coming to kill him, and he can see that shit. He literally. What else was he doing? What else was he doing when he fucking warged out?
Why are you arguing this point? It's ridiculous.
Because you're saying he has a. He can't see the future. That's like
that's
confirmed.
That's why he knew that Jon had to be told about. That's why he knew Jon had to be told. He was insistent that Jon needed to be told that he was a Targaryen. Insistent, and that's what drove the wedge between Jon and Daenerys. If it wasn't for that, they would have been happily ever after, and they would have ruled the Seven Kingdoms.
He saw the dragon flying over King's Landing,
and that.
Shannon wanted the Disney version of the ending where it was going to be,
Yeah, I wanted that.
John and Danny sitting on the throne with many babies and many baby dragons all playing and singing a song.
I would have accepted almost anything but the shit that's King. Like, that was garbage. And there's stupid council.
I don't trust anyone that doesn't think Danny would fit there, frankly, by the way. Anyone was on my list.
Like, on a personal level, like,
here in the lore, it says Brand's green sight does allow him to see into the future in segmented visions and clues.
He can get flashes of the. I already said he can have visions, but he doesn't just know the whole future.
But he knew he was going to be
potential futures. And knows how to put things into place to make potential futures.
The green
and that's
sight,
what he was doing
by
to
the
make
way,
himself king. That's not a victory.
The visions aren't necessarily attached to green sight because the green sight comes from the same powers that certain children of the forest have, and the green sight is literally being able to see the past and the present. That's what green sight is. So the visions are completely separated from that.
But somebody in the chat says, ask Steve McRae if Brand was an atheist.
Yeah.
Why do you think I came all this way?
Brand was actually the Pope of green sightism.
But I don't think you'll find anyone who disagrees that they should have drawn it out over more episodes. I mean, I don't know anyone arguing the point that the pacing was correct. I won't defend that either.
Arya is the only thing I liked about this season. I can't think of anything.
But the Arya had nothing to do in the finale. That's what bothered me. She had nothing to do in the finale.
Let me rewrite it though. Here's what should have happened. They should have had that fight outside with Euron and Jaime happen, but Euron fatally wounds Jaime out there and he dies. Arya comes up, takes Jaime's face, goes up as Jaime to Cersei.
That's what I said too. Yeah, that's what I had said.
I wouldn't have even thought of that. That's brilliant. That would have been amazing.
That's what I said too in the pre-show I did before everything, that Arya should kill Cersei wearing Jaime's face. Yeah. She basically got a happy ending. Of ways to die, she died in the arms of her lover after accepting the situation she was in. That's some bullshit.
What a lot of rumors that were going around that I think would have been really cool though, because you never see the waif get killed that Arya's fighting in that room under the bridge. Arya just comes out. A lot of rumors were going around that it was actually Arya that was killed, and the waif was wearing Arya's face.
Yeah, I never worried that was going. That would just be a twist for the sake of twists, I think. Which I don't think they do.
She wouldn't have the same motivations. Like, she wouldn't have gone back to Winterfell. She wouldn't have changed her mind when she was at the fork in the road and gone to Winterfell.
This was all about bookends. Like, everything was bookending each other, and so like it needed to be Starks. So the Starks were in control. Starks are literally in control of everything right now.
Right.
And she's heading off to take over the places they don't control.
But theoretically, there is nobody there yet at all. Like, it sounds like she's more headed off to a monster fight than necessarily running into people. Of course, that could be the surprise, is that there's ancient people that develop there.
Now we get the prequels.
I really actually hope that there is an Arya-led sequel. I want Arya's adventure into what's west of Westeros to be its own show, because she's such a badass.
She was the best part.
Now we get the prequels though. That's going to be cool.
Yeah,
her and Sansa had the best character arcs, I think.
Yeah,
Jon was the same person. Well, Tyrion, Tyrion had a pretty good character arc too. But Jon was just the same person through the entire.
To me, the best actor out of the whole series was the guy who played Tywin Lannister. He was just amazing.
I liked him. He played a character that's very similar to the character he always plays. So I don't know if I'd call him best actor, but it fit super well.
He was amazing in that. Fantastic.
Here's the other thing though with Sansa. Sansa is super duper interesting, but at the end of Game of Thrones, Sansa is meant to be smarter than Tyrion and smarter than Littlefinger, like literally the smartest and most clever person in the world. And had they drawn this out to 10 seasons as they should have, you might have actually been able to see her do things that were as clever as things that Tyrion and things that Littlefinger did. There wasn't any real passing of the mantle. We just kind of know that that's who she's supposed to be now, even though...
Like, really the only clever thing that she did was tell Tyrion about Jon. Like that was the
Right.
only opportunity that she had.
Well, she
and get Littlefinger killed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and get Littlefinger killed. That was
Right.
pretty good. She played that was one of the ones that I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that was one of the only points in this season that I was like, yes,
Yeah.
because I didn't see it. I did not see it at all.
I think it's almost like
fooled that he was still leading her on.
how about let's make this the last topic because I know everyone's going to disagree with me. Clegane Bowl sucked.
No,
it was like
I disagree.
It was like 9
Badass.
seconds long, and it's just this like kind of choppy, lazy, like on the stairs, hit, here go your eyeballs, and now let's go over.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
It was too short.
The hound ended was pushing his brother into the fire, like braving himself.
Ended
Because he knew that was the only way to kill him. Because goddamn, you can't kill that fucker. Yes.
End it the exact same way, but we saw their first fight in season 1 and in season 8 of teasing us and like making it the biggest thing ever. Both of them essentially surviving actual death. In the hound actually did survive death. The mountain died. And then it's really, if you played it, if you went back and you cut it, I think, to just their fight and them actually doing stuff, I doubt it's 90 seconds long. I'd bet it's like 70-ish, not even 90 seconds. It's so short, so quick, and the two greatest warriors in the entire fucking countryside are done because of a little push after a few seconds of fighting.
I was sad that the hound died because I really like the hound. He's rough around the edges, but I think he's got a good heart. You can tell that. I mean, he's a dick, but I liked him.
And I may have been overly excited the fact that the mountain just straightened up, defied Cersei, and then killed the guy who brought him back to life.
Yeah,
I hate this guy so much.
Aww.
You can go fuck off and take care of yourself.
You don't do Qyburn like that. I liked Qyburn.
That was so funny. It was so
funny. I like Qyburn, but it was.
Just fuck you.
Obey your queen.
Obey your queen.
You die now. Get out of my way. Bitch, if
We
you
know
wanna
nothing
live,
of the
just better
sort.
go.
Yeah.
I am curious to see assuming George R.R. Martin finishes the books, which I highly doubt he will. It is curious to see if he will end it, how closely he will end it, and how closely he'd intended to end it. Because, of course, now he can take in the fan feedback and make changes.
He replied to that, though, and he said, if your entire arc has a series of saying the butler did it, and then you have the butler do it on screen, but because the fans had guessed that ahead of time or the fans didn't like it, you now change it to somebody else did it. You did all of that foreshadowing. You had purposeful things going in a specific direction that just get voided and make no sense anymore. And so I think he was making the case that the ending will be, and this was actually a different interview. He said the ending will be roughly similar, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that's different. And he also expressed that this should have been 10 seasons, not 8. And so that's going to be wildly different.
Says that it should have been 10 seasons instead of
Yeah, I guess there's that.
Way more justification for Bran to be elected the king, because most of these other people didn't even realize he had fucking magic powers.
He did. Well, Bran apparently forgot he had magic powers all the fucking time because he never.
Why were people voting for him?
Well, the one good thing that happened was they did establish that one scene where Tyrion, when everything was just before everything was about to go crazy, Tyrion did pull up a chair and want to hear Bran's whole story. So at least they gave some justification as to how Tyrion knows what's up with Bran.
Yeah,
right.
But why was he compelling?
He literally says, "Who has a more interesting story than Bran?" And I could name 4 of the people sitting there.
Sansa,
Arya, the glow up for Robb and Aaron. That doesn't happen.
2-season sleigh ride with Hodor. That's pretty cool.
Drogon.
Yeah, at this point, why not just make Drogon the fucking king?
Vote the dragon, the king.
The bastard Baratheon guy. I can't remember his name right now. He had a relatively interesting. Gendry had an interesting story.
Of Storm's End, the Lord of Storm's End.
The sequel I want is Drogon and Shadow. that is a buddy comedy.
And Ghost? Do you mean?
Yeah, Ghost. Sorry, Ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be good.
I'm glad that they finally had John Pett Ghost. That was a good. That was a good way to end that, because people were pissed off at that. People were angry that he would never pet Ghost.
It's because the budget apparently that it apparently costs so much money to animate the wolves as giants, so they try to only do perspective warping when they can.
That makes sense.
That was my understanding. All right, I got a couple more super chats to burn through, and then I say let's go decompress.
And then, I gotta go. So
I'm angry, and it's already past my bedtime.
Bunny Moro says, I'm late to the stream, but I'd love to know your opinion on Judaism, since I found it most progressive after Catholicism. Judaism, like other religions, has different degrees. It has a religious spectrum. So there is very non-progressive Judaism and that kind of stuff. I mean, there's literally secular Jews. So at that point, what do I disagree with? But then on the other end, you do have still ones that have very misogynistic religious cultures that are not good. So that's of Judaism. I would be critical of those forms of Judaism, but not, obviously I grew up around lots of Jews and I do love them. Brutus Magnuson, ham and eggs. I don't know what that's a reference to.
That's Paul's channel. God damn it.
Oh, sorry. We were talking about Game of Thrones. I was literally searching my head for a character in Game of Thrones yelling ham and eggs. I'm sorry. Hey, by the way, everybody, what's the name of my other channel? That's what I thought. Blue Cat, worst finale. Oh, fuck you. Blue Cat, worst finale, Game of Thrones or Lost? Lost was worse.
Lost was worse.
Yeah. Kyle?
Never seen Lost.
Well, it was worse. Don't start now.
Don't waste your goddamn time.
Watch
Only Battlestar Galactica might be worse than that.
Ooh. Shots fired. Yeah. Bunny Morrow, Danny was justified, plain and simple. I'm not sure genocide is ever justified, plain and simple, but respectfully disagree, Bunny. Meredith Naveen says, still haven't watched the final 3 episodes, starting to think that was a good move. You know what? I've been telling people just end at the end of season 7 and assume that everyone in the entire world is in the wall and that Drogon kills all of them.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Better ending. Yeah. Because that's just simply one side won, and unfortunately, it wasn't the side we wanted to win. And now Tyrion's the Night King. I don't know. Have fun with whatever you assume.
Do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, whatever you got to do to get through it. To get through the long night.
Oh God.
That's a reference to my 3rd channel. None of you knew that? I don't have a 3rd channel. Sorry. I'm overcompensating.
End it fucking now.
Everyone, there are links below. Please go and check out these wonderful shows, Shannon Q, NonSec, and, of course, Ham and Eggs by Paula Gio, which is my favorite show. I watch it every day. Of course. But really, do check out them. Do check them out. All the people here are some of the people I love the most in the world. They might be that new family. I don't know. We'll see. I am still going to call Kyle Daddy no matter what, though. Kyle, any last words?
Help me.
I need somebody help. Let's put the music back on because I want to. Oh, it's ending. All right. Well, bye, everyone.